If you get a woman pregnant in the state of Texas, you will have to pay child support from the moment that that child is conceived. Texas passed a new law that goes into effect in the fall of 2025, right? That states that child support begins at conception. Now, one may ask, why the change, right? So as we all know, Texas has some of the strictest abortion laws, right? Requiring women to basically have babies. They're unable to terminate pregnancies. And there's lots of restrictions, right, in place for women. So they're forcing them to have children that they may not be able to take care of. The father is MIA, whatever the situation may be, okay? And so everyone asks, like, why is it that men just basically get to skate and a woman is stuck left holding the bag? So it's like, no, wait a minute, just stay tuned. So basically, men, okay, child support typically starts when the baby is born, right? Negating the fact that that woman has had medical bills for 9-10 months, right? Some women have to be on bed rest. Some women have to take a change in employment, right? Because they're unable to work or they can't work as much. Maybe they work on their feet, so they're not allowed. They've had to take pay cuts. They have to start buying things for the baby, paying for, equipment and supplies and things for the baby ahead of time, right? Their bodies are changing. And also just the mental and physical toll that it takes on a woman's body, all of which a man doesn't have to experience. So all of these things have come into play long before the child has ever been born. And then you still have men complaining about small child support obligations, doing their best to try to even get out of that once the baby is born. There's extracurricular activities, right? There's daycare costs. All of these things are not included in child support. And we all know the cost of daycare. Most child support payments do not even cover a week or two of daycare. Okay, so let's just be real, right? So that woman has to find childcare. She has to try to go to work. And the guy is complaining because he has to pay $400, $500 a month. Okay, so this law, which makes total sense, it's like, why should you get to just spread your seed all over? That woman is left carrying the bag from day one.
I tell people all the time that the biggest decision as far as relationships are concerned are who you decide to have children with, not who you marry. Now, of course, we have our own issues with marriage as far as guys being afraid of divorce, not necessarily afraid to get married. And I do think that we need to change family court laws that are archaic, that do not serve the current public as far as how society and how progressive women have become as far as their ability to be able to earn money, make decisions for themselves, the autonomy of their bodies, so on and so forth. But I do still say the same thing, in that just because we need to change certain laws, and I know that there are some people that's going to disagree with me and so on and so forth, does not mean, I repeat, it does not mean that you should not be responsible for where you put your seed. Now, there's going to be a lot of guys that get mad at this, but you know this. This is not anything that is not before you that you should be concerned about, that you're not already aware of, and so on and so forth. You know what you're getting yourself into before you get into it. Now, of course, I'm an equal accountability smoke giver, so I'm always going to hold every party accountable for their part in what they're doing. Women know who they're choosing to get pregnant by. They open up their legs. There's too many forms of contraception. We should not be out here uh, just having random babies with random people that we're not married to. And so that's a problem within itself. The culture here in America is a problem within itself. The fact that women are out here protesting, eliminating babies as a form of contraception, in my personal opinion, is an issue. However, because we are the greatest country on earth, because we do believe in allowing for people to vote on whatever it is that they believe is making sense as protected by the Constitution, because we are a republic that use a democratic voting process. Trump, and a lot of people was protesting about this during the election, Trump says, hey, listen, we're going to let the individual states, and this is the thing that people didn't understand that they was trying to use as leverage in the Democrat Party during the election. They let the individual states vote, the people within those states vote on whether or not they're able to terminate a pregnancy once a person gets pregnant, and your abortion laws is going to play a huge role in that. Now, what happens after that is absolutely important. And I'm going to deep dive into that in a minute, but let me hear a little bit more of what she got to say. And then we're going to come back and have a conversation. Also, I always like to give credit to the content creators. So that link is in the description. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, we had an awesome live stream a couple days ago. Also going to drop a video for y'all this weekend. And then last but not least, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit a like for the algorithm. And then share this with your friends and family. Let's see what else she got to say.
Right? from day one. So now they passed retroactive child support. You will have to go back and pay child support when that baby is conceived. So maybe wrap it up, because no, you can't tell women that life starts at conception and pass all of these laws based on that notion, but not hold the men accountable who created that life for any type of financial obligation, right? You cannot have it both ways. So all the folks who voted for these stricter reproductive laws, right? You have to look at both sides of that coin and make sure all parties involved, right, are properly taken care of, given that you've passed all of these restrictions. And then I know what the men are saying, like, well, what if the baby's not mine, right? How do I know? I can't pay retroactively for a child who I don't even know if it's mine. So here's the deal, right? You had control over where you planted your seed to begin with, right? So if you're concerned about whether or not a baby is yours because you're dating someone casually, unprotected, or whatever it might be, and you're that concerned that you don't even know if that child is yours, perhaps you shouldn't, A, have been sleeping with someone unprotected, right? And then B, maybe just not sleep around.
See, that's a problem. That's a problem. We can't just be that reckless. What about establishing paternity at birth? Why is everybody so against establishing paternity at birth? Why is that a thing? You can't just randomly tag somebody with a kid because there's too many people that find out that that father is not their father. And I believe that the child support courts have become a business, a multi-billion-dollar business for each state, so that, you know, a lot of people actually find themselves in a difficult situation and under duress, but even at the behest of holding the woman accountable for not establishing paternity. As far as, if you can establish paternity at birth, why don't we? Why don't we establish paternity at birth? That would solve a lot of these issues, as far as people saying that no, child support court, this, that, so on and so forth. No, I don't believe in paying for a child that's not yours. I don't believe being held accountable for the child that's not yours, even if you are married to the woman. And that's where this is why I say family court laws need to be revisited. I don't mind them saying, hey, listen, okay, that's your child, whatever, so on and so forth. I don't mind certain things, because we got to have balance. But the thing that I don't agree with is a man being forced to pay for a child that's not his. And then her justification for it is saying, well, you just shouldn't have been sleeping around. That's not your kid. You know what I'm saying? That is not your kid. You can't be held accountable for something that's not yours. But again, that's where my take is. Let's hear the rest of what she has to say.
Okay? The accountability lies with you. Nothing kicks off without you. So if you're concerned about, well, maybe the child's not mine, right? Let's have that thought process, right? And put those proactive measures in place before you lay down with women, right? Before you choose a woman that you lay down with. How about you do that? Because the reality is the burden has and always been on the woman, no matter what, right? No one has to help her or do anything until that child is born.
Because we know for a fact that that's her child. It comes out of her. There is no question. But a woman can sleep with multiple men. That doesn't mean that every man should be held accountable for the child that she has. Where are we missing this? Am I the only person that sees this, or are we all off here?
Okay? And what we're saying is, most of the time, the baby belongs to the man who is at the forefront of the situation, right? Yes, you have some cases where maybe women don't quite know. Those cases are usually the rarity, right? So in the United States, okay, let me talk about the United States, because I know it may be different in other areas, in other countries, but in the United States, when you're, sleeping with somebody, usually you know who the dad is. Okay? Now, guys may try to deny it because they're like, well, I think I should go and okay, fine. Get your DNA test, but you're still going to pay. You're still going to pay retroactive child support. And if you don't want someone to just willy-nilly be able to put your name down on a child support case, okay, before the baby's born, because this can go for anybody. Any woman can say that you are the father, right? This should be a huge wake-up call to men to stop sleeping around.
And as usual, when they have this conversation, they fail to hold the woman accountable also, and they just have a woe is me attitude. But, that's where I stand on the whole situation. And y'all got to protect y'all seed. If you they're doing retroactive child support, they're not messing around. You will be paying for that for the rest of your life, and it's going to mess up everything that you got going on. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teej Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.